Oh, Muruti. Muruti.
Recording progress.
All right.
I'm blessed, and how are you?
Hey, so am I, man. Blessed to see you.
Hey, hallelujah.
Yes.
Is my light correct?
Yes, yes, everything is fine. I can hear you well.
Is my light right?
The light is right. You can see your face.
Can you see Jesus?
Yeah. We can see the face of Christ. Yeah, now, right?
Sharp and pet.
Yeah, man, good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I see there's Andy Lejay.
Yeah, let me just mute. I'm gonna come back.
Okay, sure.
Ulendata.
Vamba,
Data.
ngiyaphileka Nkosi yami.
Kuhle siyabulela kusisigcinile niyavukana nekhaya.
Hayi man, Nkosi ngecala.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining.
I've been rushing like crazy ngisuke enkonzweni.
Oh madoda.
Yes.
Man, nxe. I hope noko isixhaso sewusifumene.
Hayi noko.
Yeah.
Noko.
Okay.
Send late for that.
Yawman ubangula nje ipisana ngogama Sikhuba.
Yes.
All right.
Am I clear? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. I can hear you well. Pastor Melane ukhona, but she's just stepped somewhere. But she's singing already. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. So senibuyele nina full time.
Sesibuyele full time. Kodwa ke we are a small branch, so at least we are able to manage.
Oh, social distancing in that.
Yes, ikhona. Sinoko sibambalwa kakhulu.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Asifani no Dr. Zondi abane service ngayi 3 or 4.
Hey. So phaya bafuneka babe strict impela bona.
Yeah, bas split numbers babene services eziliqela.
Okay. Just to manage the influx.
Yes, to manage the influx, the traffic.
Okay. All right. Amen. Thank you so much. Sesijoyiniwe ngabantu I can see Ayanda, I can see Uvusizwe, Gosi, welcome. And I'm sure others are joining us on Facebook because we are now live, streaming live on Facebook as well. So I'd like to welcome everyone who came in early to make sure that you don't miss any of these things that you're going to be saying and hearing today. There you go. People can also do watch parties on their Facebook page. I don't know, no, we say it's something that is well accepted and welcome. All right, masibesilinda ke Nkosi yami, silinde abanye bazawufika. Oh, I can already see Omnyu Vambane Upper. A city, we are ready for you. Again, welcome, Pura. Welcome, Sia, Jodwana. Good to see you. Unfortunately, I cannot see everyone, but I'll read out those that I can see now and then. But thank you so much for joining. We are also just about to start. The guests are already here, so thank you. Buwe, ayingxoli kakhulu le ngoma itshoyo.
Kukho ingoma edlalayo?
Oh, ayivakali wawuvakala. Okay. Ihlise kakhulu ivolume.
Akuvakali kwangoma tata.
Oh, ayike kungcono beniwani nathanda iyangcola, but it's okay. Oh, Mazibuko, welcome. Bonilo ngeni. Welcome, sir.
How are you?
All right, how are you, sir? Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm still setting up.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's all right. Are you back? Were you in Cape Town? Are you back now?
Cape Town? No. I was not in Cape Town.
Oh, okay.
I've been here in Durban.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay. It's off. I can see you now.
Khethelo, I phoned you and I gave up.
Yes, I owe you a call back.
I gave up. I saw him madly in love.
No. I'm the one who owes you a call back. Things got a bit jumbly, and then I'll find my way through.
All right.
Are you guys okay?
This madly in love business, are your wives aware of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This madly in love business, are your wives aware of this thing?
I know it's
There's polyandry also in the mix, so we need to be sure.
No, Jonathan.
Glendo of uplifting each other.
All right, people are waiting and watching. Welcome, Kajen. Mones Intlek is watching. You're saying Aniva. I'm just going to increase the volume here. Please say if you cannot hear so that Can you please come back and indicate if you can now hear? I've increased the volume, and I just want to make sure that everything is fine here. If those people on Facebook cannot hear, let us know. But I welcome all of you to our program today. We have everyone. We're just waiting for Dr. Zondi to join us. I just want to check if there's someone on Facebook who can confirm that you are able to see.
Yeah, no, we're able to see and hear, Pat.
And hear, able to hear as well, sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to ask those people that are joining us to please mute their devices so that we can hear one another. Otherwise, I'm going to have to mute them myself. Yes. Is Pastor Zondi on here? I can't see him. I hope he didn't join maybe with another person's device, because I saw you, Thando. You joined in through your wife's device. Yeah. All right, can I just ask those people? I'm just gonna maybe just do a mute, like an automatic mute. Yeah. Okay. All right, colleagues, let's get started. I think Pastor Zondi will find us on the way. Pastor Mazibuko, Pastor Buwe, Pastor Melane, can you guys hear me well? Yes, okay. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We see, okay, Lizo, thank you so much, Leicester Square. You can hear and you can see. That's wonderful. I'm happy for that confirmation. Good day, everyone. Good day. What a beautiful day up here where I am. The sun is out, is smiling. I spoke to a friend in Cape Town earlier. He said the town is beautiful, unlike yesterday. And I can see Pastor Mazibuko in Durban as well. He's wearing a t-shirt, so meaning that the weather is good there. All right, and thank you so much. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. On this program, basically, we just profile people, ordinary people like you and me, you know, who just strive for excellence. That's what we're here to do, is just to strive and motivate and encourage excellence. They help inform, inspire, and motivate someone, especially young Black people, you know, with the idea that with God on your side, you know, with hard work, with effort, with excellence, there's nothing that's impossible for you. There are still people out here who are out to show that whatever your background, wherever you're coming from, whatever it is, your socioeconomic status, you can be that which you were made to be. And so these guys that we're having here today, are you really here to help us along that way? And by the way, gentlemen, I must say, no one is allowed to talk about Kaizer Chiefs or soccer today. There's no soccer discussion, please. Just, it's an unholy conversation, that one. And I stay away from that. So today we're dealing with an important but sensitive topic, an issue on how can men uplift one another. I must just say, my pastors, that there's a huge interest in this program today. There's a lot of people who have indicated one way or the other their interest. And I even remember one sent a message to a friend saying, are ladies allowed, or is it just for men only? So you can sense that there's an interest right across genders, right across different people. Others are from South Africa, others are from elsewhere. It's an amazing topic that we're going to be looking at today, because men are wounded, men are broken. Some are wounds from their background. Some are self-inflicted wounds. Some are wounds from relationships, wounds from children, wounds from their workplaces, their bosses, and all of that kind of situation. People are going through stuff, but we shut it all in. Though today the question is, how can we uplift one another? Men flock into churches, they flock into corporate, they flock into government departments, but they don't come out healed and uplifted. They feel all alone in the midst of things that are taking place. The question today we're dealing with is, how can we uplift one another? And by saying this, we're not saying to the exclusion of any others, of women or children, but we're just talking today about how we can uplift one another. Because it looks like the culture is saying each man for himself. So if you can climb up the ladder, you kick the ladder as long as you're up there. If you can get a great tender, good for you. You kick others out. If you can get the business deal, or you can get this or that, is it us? What are the ramifications of that? So this afternoon, I have a great panel of guests, men I highly respect, men of influence and integrity, men who are adding tremendous amount of value to our society from all corners of a human life. And so please help me welcome Pastor Thando Melane. He's a great friend of mine, Unzoto, a pastor, the founder of Destined for Greatness Church or Ministry, a facilitator, a mentor, and a businessman. He's very passionate about men's issues. He's married to Mamiki, and they are blessed with 2 children. Welcome, Zoto. Good to see you.
Bless you. Thank you very much, Pat. Bless you, man. Well, greetings to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Right. I don't see Dr. Zondi. Just let me know when he's arrived.
He's here. He's here.
Is he here? Okay. I'm going to ask him to show his face. So
wear
that
your spectacles. Wear your spectacles.
My problem is that I cannot see when I have a problem with my spectacles. I need to change them. I cannot see close. I can see only far. So I know you've said this to me. Dr. and Pastor Zondi, Sipho Zondi, he is a pastor at Langa Baptist Church, an academic, a businessman who's very, very passionate about community development. And I'm sure people who live and worship in the area of Langa know about his tremendous amount of work. He is married to, I hope I'm going to say the name correctly, Nini, and a father to 4 girls, Sli, Lerato, Zawadi, and Amara. Welcome, Mfundiswam. Can I just have a view of you so that our viewers can also see who you are?
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. And let me greet all the men. Thank you so much. It's such an honor for us to be here this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Welcome. All right. Then we also have Pastor Vuyani Buwe. He's a pastor. He's a marriage counselor. So if you're out there looking for someone to marry you, these are the guys who can help you along that path. But he's also a marriage officer. He is working full-time in the city of Cape Town municipality. And by the way, one day we'll have to and bring pastors back to say, you know, under the COVID-19, should pastors, you know, should we have full-time pastors, or can pastors be like Paul's and so on? Maybe that some other day we're going to have that conversation. He's passionate about reaching out to young people who are in drug addiction, which is a serious problem faced by many, many parents. And he is married to Suzuki, and they are blessed with 3 children. Welcome and say hi to everyone.
Tata, thank you so much for the invite. Good afternoon, Kumfundisi Melane, Dr. Zondi, and Pastor Mazibuko. Good evening, good afternoon to the viewers as well. It's good to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Last, definitely, but not least, we've got Pastor Khethelo Mazibuko. Oh man, a pastor to so many of us, an international public speaker, and the founder of the Word and Life Ministry. He is passionate about the Word of God. Is also very passionate about matters that relate to men. And he's married to Norma, and they are blessed with 3 boys. Fundis, welcome. Welase, good to see you.
Good afternoon, and greetings to all the pastors and the viewers as well. Thank you for inviting me to this discussion, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are the ones who are blessed by your gracing this. All right. Okay, I will try and send my brother here the Zoom details just now, but let me just do this. Well, I want to acknowledge those people who are also joining us on Facebook that I can see here. We can see Uvuli Dludla, Sime Kwadala, Thembinkosi Matika. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here. And I'm sure there are others that I cannot be able to see here. Please bear with me taking my spectacles and putting them down now and then. It's just the way it is. You know, I'm unfortunately got bad eye genes. So, all right, gentlemen, let's start. Let's start with you, Pastor Mazibuko. You've been here when Thando before, and maybe people may have heard a bit about your background. But I think let's do it again for those people that have never seen you or heard you. Just tell us a brief about yourself, where you're from, your background, and what makes you interested in this discussion. So we're going to start with you, and then go to Dr. Zondi, and then go to Pastor Buwe, and then Melane, in that order. Briefly.
Thanks, and let me greet once again. It's a tradition that pastors must always greet when they before they talk. As you said, I'm Pastor Khethelo Mazibuko. I run a ministry called the Word and Life Ministry. I've pastored and been pastoring in the Adventist Church for just over 10 years. Academically, my work is more on systematic theology, Christology, and hermeneutics. In terms of ministry-wise, I'm passionate about family ministries. I'm passionate about Black Christian business development, and I'm very passionate about social justice as well. So those are my 3 areas that I really work on a day-to-day basis in terms of ministry. I'll keep it that short.
All right, thank you. That's great. Thank you, man. That's powerful. That's nice to hear those kinds of things as well. Yeah. Dr. Zondi.
Thank you so much, my brother, man. Thank you so much. You know, I thought I was going to be the last one. I think
the first one shall be last, and the last shall be first.
I think we're supposed to be the last one. I think Melane is supposed to come, you know. But anyway, thank you so much for the invitation. Look, yes, my name is Sipho Zondi, of course, and originally I'm from KZN, and yes, brought up and grew up in Pietermaritzburg, but I'm now in Cape Town, pastoring a church, Langa Baptist Church here. My passion is ministry to man. I'm pastoring a church here, in Langa, an old church. It's a church that is about 78 years old.
Sure.
And this church, is the first Black church in the Baptist in the Western Cape. In the oldest township here in Cape Town, and when we came here couple of challenges that we still face, of men who grew up here. So I have a lot of interest in ministry to men. My passion is that, but I'm also passionate about married men. Talking mainly with married men. I grew up in rural areas. I was born and grew up in rural areas. My father is a pastor as well, and I have 3 other brothers who are pastors, and my grandfather was a pastor. So
Wow.
so was a preacher. So I'm brought up in a family of pastors, which itself has its own challenges. But anyway, it has its own challenges. But look, I'm really very passionate about ministry to men. At church, we have a ministry to men. I meet men at least once a month.
Pastor Zondi, someone said if you can just increase your volume or your voice, apparently they can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. My apologies. Yeah. So I'm passionate about ministry to men, particularly married men. So we have a ministry to men at church, and I'm very passionate about community development. But with regard to the role of men in community development, that's my passion. Let me hold it there for now. I'm a Baptist. I'm a Baptist, but
Yes.
I'm a kingdom-minded man, kingdom-minded person. So thank you so much for having us. Let me just hold it there now. Otherwise, the other things are going to come up as we go along. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. If there's a one place that I really enjoyed my time, it was in Pietermaritzburg. I spent 4 years there. It was a beautiful place. I've got lifelong friendships there.
Yeah, that's where I was born. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up. I grew up there.
Oh, okay.
It's Tawin. What's Tawin?
Oh, okay. I think Pastor Mazibuko may know 1 or 2 things about Pietermaritzburg as well. All right.
It's my hometown. I was also born there.
Oh, what's right.
Pastor Buwe, let's get to you.
Welcome.
Chair, thank you so much. Where do I start? I pastor a church called Word of Life Ministries. I think Pastor Mazibuko might have stolen our name. Since 2011. I'm very passionate about boys. We run a drug support group which eventually helps boys to get to rehab with partnership with a number of private.
Oh, so let me just try and mute these people. Can I ask everybody who just comes online to please mute their device so that we don't hear when they speak? Thank you. Carry on, sir.
Yeah, so I'm a founder and the senior pastor of Word of Life Ministries in Cape Town since 2011. I'm passionate about boys in particular. My heart, is around boys. I run a number of we run a boys ministry specifically for boys. We have a support group. I'm very interested in the space of drugs, because it is drug addiction is bursting at the seams. I'm passionate about family, ministry, and marriage, and building stronger families. Of course, I'm employed by the city of Cape Town. I'm also studying. I'm still growing. So that's basically all I can say right now.
All right, thank you so much. That's great. Let's get to Pastor Melane. Are you here, or did I just lose you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Thando, and I run a tavern in Goodwood, representing most of the men that are not here in this platform. Well, I run a church called Destined for Greatness, that is in the city of Cape Town. If I'm right, I might be wrong. I'm always laboring under the fact that I might be the only Black South African who runs a church in town, in Cape Town. Bonke basezilokushini, oBuwe no Zondi. That might reflect.
Still our members.
Yeah. I think I'm passionate about men because I'm a man. First and foremost, everything that a man deals with, I'm probably in the same boat. And so I'm very interested into understanding myself, understanding other men, and how do we together make the best of what we have called life. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for that background. I think now we can get into the meat of our discussion. And I'd like to encourage people out there to please indicate if you cannot hear a certain speaker or if you cannot see them, so that we can make a solution out of that. But now, let me start with you, Pastor Buwe, because I'd like to build around the metaphor that I heard you share, or an illustration I heard you share on a social media clip, where you made an illustration about 6 pallbearers. And it's amazing the kind of conversations we're having listening to that. And I'd like you to repeat that story briefly. And then the question then becomes, what do we mean by uplifting one another as men? How can we uplift one another as men? And secondly, what are the things that pull men down? What is it that we need to be uplifted from? And then we'll take it from there. If you can start, Pastor Buwe, and then gentlemen, feel free to chip in, but let's do brief, straight to the point, and so on. Yeah.
The clip I had shared was referring to men needing 6. In fact, the metaphor is about a dead person in a coffin who's being buried, who has 6 people who carry him from the hearse to the house, from the house to the church. After the church service, they carry them to his grave. And my question was around, I wonder how life would be if we had 6 people who were intentionally in our lives, whether by hook or by crook, to push us towards our destiny. People who came intentionally in our lives to make sure that we become who we were destined to be. People who are in our lives by realizing the gifts that God has given us, and who are there to make sure that those gifts that God has given us do not die. So that was the gist of the clip. It was just questions, because I was looking at myself. I was looking at the support that I have, which is non-existent. Even in ministry, I do not have people I can go to and say to them, this is my struggle. Because I am seen as a father, I'm seen as a founder of a church, I'm seen as a leader, I'm seen as somebody who is complete. But I can tell you now, without fear or favor, I am incomplete in my perceived completeness. And my completion can only be found in those who've gone before me, who have more experience than me. There's a term that I heard from another international speaker, a term that says, we need to lift as we climb. And I think that was the foundation of men can admire each other from a distance and not come closer to tap in whatever Pastor Thando Melane is good at, for influence, for mentoring, for guidance, you know, and there seems to be, even if the men I know me, they know I might be blessed in one aspect or the other. But if there is one man that's knocked on my door to say, help me, I am struggling with this. You know, and as much as people were thinking it is about other people, it was about me.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that powerful illustration. And I thought we should use it and as a branching point so that we can tease it from whatever perspective. Gentlemen, because the question is, why is it that we are isolated as men from each other? Why is it that we are struggling alone? We're going through life alone. I said at the beginning that we are wounded, but we look great in suits and in clothes. And there are few people around us, even when we are among people. So anyone who wants to take up an answer, I see Pastor Zondi's hand is up, and then anyone else can chip in.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I think what Uklaha is saying is quite important. You know, as we're speaking, I'm just reflecting how I grew up. That my father is still alive, an old man, a great man. But I think among many things that he taught me, one thing he never taught me is how to relate. And I find it hard even to relate with him. That he took me to school, he took me to best schools, he did all the good things, but one thing which matters was how to relate. And I find that is a big challenge with a lot of us men. We don't know how to relate. We don't know how to relate with other men. We don't know how to relate with even our wives. That's why those men who are married, we relate through sex. We really don't know how to relate. And because we don't know how to relate, we are struggling. And I would say, number one challenge that we have as men is how to relate. And so I think that the biggest challenge and the biggest thing that we need to do, improve on, is to teach men how to relate. And because we don't know how to relate, we wear this mask. We put ourselves in a hole, you know. We don't know how to relate. You know, when I go through difficult times, I don't know, you know, my mom passed away last year in August. I'm now with my father. Both of us, we look at each other. We really don't know how to relate. You know, kunjani I believe. Lijani bandla. Hayi bandla lihamba kahle. Finish. It's done. So the discussion is done. So we don't know how to relate as men. And
he probably doesn't know. He never learned it from his own father as well. You know.
Exactly. So I would say a number of things stem from there. A number of things stem from our difficulty in relating. Even those who have sons here, you don't know how to relate to your sons. We don't know how to relate, and this is where women are strong at, and this is where women are able to relate with our sons are relating, but we as men are struggling to relate with relationships. So I wanna raise that point as the first point for me, and I'm also relating it to me. You know, to me, that my father is a great man, but one thing that he probably didn't teach us, and he did not know himself probably, is how to relate. And so we are, even we are 7 sons, one daughter. We don't fight. We friends, but even ourselves, among ourselves, we don't know how to relate. You know, a phone call between me and my brother, 2 minutes is big, 5 minutes big. Kunjani right? Kunjani kapha right? Kunjani lapha right? I show man, show. You know. That's it. It's done. So we don't know how to relate, and so because we don't know how to relate, even if you ask me how was service now, if you ask me, hey, Pastor, how was service? It was right. It was okay. And you find that the service was not okay.
All right. Pastor
the service
Zondi,
was not okay.
I'm going to come back to you just now. I know that I'm dealing with pastors here, you know, who talk very well. So, Pastor Mazibuko, do you want to come in on this point? And then Pastor Thando.
Thank you. You know, just on the two things that have been said by Abefundis, one is already picking up that I was listening to the two of them and as they're taking notes as well, and I'm thinking to myself, just on those two things, they've introduced enough for us to have a discussion for the whole week without adding anything new to it. If I were to borrow from Pastor Buwe, his illustration of the 6 pallbearers. With the two of them talking, I already identified that there are 2 missing pallbearers in my life as a man. I am missing a relational bearer, someone who's going to teach me as a man, my example of relationships. We don't have examples of relationships. Number 2, I am missing a pallbearer of identity, borrowing from Pastor Buwe's beginning. No one has ever defined for us what is a man. And I mean that in the context that, for as far as I can remember, our manhood has always been circumstantial. As a result, as men right now, with the awakening of women, with the awakening of knowledge, we find us as men facing an existential threat because the women that needed us no longer need us. In the context of the things we thought made us men. We were comfortable that we were men because we provide. We were men because we protect. We were men because we are physically strong. But what has happened is that the world has gotten educated. Women are getting richer. And as a part of that richness, they are able to provide for themselves lifestyles with security. So then the question is to come, so now what do I do? What's a man now? So already from the 2 gentlemen, I am 2 pallbearers short. I'm not even sure if I can find the other 4. But my case is already weak. So just without introducing anything new, I have to start there and say, it is clear that we need someone to help us as men. And of course, that help us is within ourselves. To come up with a definition of manhood that once and for all will not make us subject to the winds of life. And secondly, with that, we need someone to take us to the world and help us know how to be part of it, the relational part that Dr. Zondi was referring to. I'm already like a 4x4 stuck in the mud, just there.
Just there. Sure.
How do I define manhood? We had this discussion in Newcastle a couple of years ago. I was with Pastor Bloss. And one of the things that came out is the fact that if we took away circumstances, we were left as men in crisis. In fact, some of the men uttered it out and said, pastors, we hear you. The problem is, if we leave this building today and you have taken away from us that we are providers, we honestly have no clue what we are going to say at home. When we get home and our wives asked us, what was the outcome of your men's session? We don't know what to say because you would have taken away. And what we were trying to say is, to provide should be an outcome of manhood, not necessarily the defining of it, because it's a circumstantial thing. To protect is an outcome, and we can then break those down, providing what? What do we mean when we say a man is a provider?
Okay. We're going to pick up on those issues, Khethelo, but I just want to make sure that we have Thando as well making his point on this first question, because I do want us to also address the issue of saying, you know, what does it mean then if there is this kind of confusion, this kind of isolation, this inability to relate? What does it mean to uplift one another? And secondly, you know, if men are seen as abusers, you know, corrupt people, killers and all of that, what's the value in uplifting them? Why do they need to be uplifted if already they are oppressive to other people? Pastor Thando, you can choose whichever entry you want to take.
Someone once said, eloquence becomes a burden if you have nothing to say. I just think I'm gonna pass this for now, because I'm right now tearing. Because I was not expecting that this discussion will zoom in, because I'm practically sitting with this question. Another shade of it is wanting to relate with men, but you seldom find. It's not that you don't want to relate. You are relating, but most of the things that I know about men come through women. It is a woman who will say, there's a problem at home. A man would not say that. And as a result, if a man is married, I've decided not to make up my mind as to what kind of a man he is until I meet his wife, because that's most likely gonna come out of that. I'm really looking for practical things that we can do to relate. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. You can come in here. The question now remains is, what's the value of uplifting men? What is it? What do we define as uplifting? And why should we uplift men when men are seen as the menace of society, as people that are abusing children, drinking alcohol and living and never coming back, or even those of us who are churchgoers or professionals, but somehow there's this deficiency that we feel. We're wounded. How do we uplift? On what areas must we uplift one another? Pastor Buwe?
Before we can even uplift, I'm of a firm view that what I understood to be manhood has reached its sell-by date, and it needs to be redefined, so that I can start in my own home and impart that to my sons. If I do not redefine what I called manhood, then I am a useless father in terms of fathering my son, in terms of imparting something they can carry in their lives to be men of substance. There is something substantive. There is something beyond the position I hold and the influence I have that needs to be redefined, to be reconfigured. Because if even the term being called a pastor is synonymous with many things you have seen on TV, which have got absolutely no credibility, honor, or the representation of the word of God. So for me, before I can even be uplifted, the foundation has shifted. It needs to be reinforced, to be reconfigured, to be redefined. There is a deep incapacity that has happened in the institution called manhood. And before we can move any further, we need to go into a class after somebody has been in a terrible accident where they learn to walk again. Because man as it stands does not speak to our society.
Sure. Come in, gentlemen. Come in. It's open. It's open season. Anyone can come in. We try to. I mean, this matter. I'm becoming also quite, warmed up and emotional about it, because it seems as if we're all going through the same challenges, and it does not matter what ages it is. It does not matter what socioeconomic status, whatever church you belong to, or you don't belong to any church, but we're all bound by this idea of what. Of the wound of manhood. And some of us have tried to define it through circumcision or circumstance. Some of us have tried to define it from walking up the mountain. If you go up, you are a man. But it seems as if those definitions are not able in themselves to help us to be able to be the kind of people that we have to be. So go ahead, Dr. Zondi.
A story is told. I've heard this story a number of times of a couple that visited another couple.
Yeah.
And they stayed for over an hour or something. And the ladies went to a kitchen to wash the dishes after having dinner.
Yeah.
It's a story that I've heard. Then on their way back, the wife of this couple who came to visit is asking her husband, "Did you hear that this your friend is divorcing his wife?"
Is divorcing his wife.
And this guy says no. Yeah, it was his wife. And this guy says no, I didn't hear. Then the wife says, "But can you Antoni? Because because when we left you, his wife told me." Can you tell what is it you're discussing? You know, Kulati, my brother, let me tell you, I'm intrigued and very interested in the man Jesus.
Okay.
The man Jesus. I think there's some wealth in learning about the man Jesus as a man, and I think we've not done much work there. And I think Pastor Mazibuko was right. Part of the problem is that we have an identity crisis as men, because all our definition have crumbled. We have defined men, and all that has crumbled. We've defined hence the anger. Men have anger, hence the violence, hence all these kind of things, because everything we've defined man gayo has crumbled. And so in the absence of anything here, we have the man Jesus. We have the man Jesus that I think we need to look at the man Jesus, him as a man. And I think for a long time we've ignored looking at Jesus as a man. I've started looking at Jesus as a man, and look at him how we relate with other men. Because the interesting thing about Jesus is that when he formed his team, he called a team of men. So Jesus had no problem with relating with man. And the interesting thing about Jesus is also his relationship with his mother, and also his relationship with the Father. Interesting that so much so that he even takes the trade, his father's trade. So I'm very interested in us, some other time. It's gonna be long, this one, to learn about man Jesus, and the man Jesus. I think if we learn from him, there's much we can learn from him, and I want to propose that we start from there. And the issue of identity, like Pastor Mazibuko was saying, is big. It's very big, because currently I'm proposing to you that men are struggling with identity. We struggle with identity, especially men who are believers. Men who are believers. I think men who are not believers are less struggling. Men who are struggling more, men who are believers, we struggle with identity. Now that, you are born again, you are now in church, you are serving the Lord, your identity as a man. And so we need to redefine this. We need to redefine this and let go of what is gone and find the true identity of a man that will never change with time. And so what is clear now is that what we held high was is a problem. What we held high definition of a man is a big challenge. And however, the good thing though is that there is a man Jesus to look up to. There's a man Jesus that all of us need to look up to, and that man is a perfect man. He's a perfect in identity. He's a perfect man in relating. He's a perfect man in relating in the community. But he's also a perfect man in maturing man and in challenging us even mentally. Jesus was a perfect man. And so I think part of what I want to challenge everybody is to look at the man Jesus, man Christ, as a man, and I don't think we've done much work there. And I think our solution is right there.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You got us going there in terms of the possible solution. Anyone else?
Yes. Yeah. Pastor Zondi got me excited when he got into that Jesus as a man. I think we have a lot to talk about on the side because it touches on some of the academic work that I'm doing. But I agree 100%. The first thing we have to do as part of this topic that you have given us is to say, if we're going to start building up a man, then here's the first thing we do. We define a man. And in defining a man, we all accept that the men who have gone before us cannot help us in that journey. As we look at them, they were in their own existential crisis of definition. So we need a man who is going to be higher and better than all of us. And from that man, we are going to cascade down to who we are as men today. And of course, we are pastors here, so we are not going to be ashamed to giving guidance precisely based on the word of God. That is the foundation of us coming together. We are first going to admit that for a man to find himself and be able to just take step one of being uplifted, the man, the male in gender and the man in societal positioning has to go back to Genesis 1:26 and 27 and say, first and foremost, I am made in the image of God. But what does that mean? That imago Dei concept, what does that mean? Is then where we begin to flow out. So first and foremost, unless and until as a man, I acknowledge that there is one who is the foundation and superior. That word superior for me becomes important because masculinity thrives on superiority. That is why we dominate women, we dominate our children, we dominate each other in business, we dominate each other even in poverty. That is how we are driven as men, we dominate. So for us to then find a definition of manhood that is going to equalize all of us, we will need to accept one who dominates us all. Otherwise, our testosterone is always going to be in the game of who is superior to who as men. But once we accept that there is one superior, dominant, the alpha of it all, God, but he's not alpha because he's a man. So we are not making him in the lineage of manhood. He is alpha because he transcends all things, yet defines all things. So as a man, I look to him first and foremost for the definition of existence. Being. He has made me in his image. What does it mean that he has made me in his image? He expresses it. He has asked me that I should take care of the earth, and that I should subdue it. Huge colonial mistake in westernized colonial hermeneutics was to understand those words, subdue and have dominion, to mean destroy and trample upon, when in their Hebrew origin, they mean serve, promote, make sure that you are in favor of its well-being. So as a man, I then have to go there and say, okay, I am made in the image of God, number one. What should that mean? It means my entire existence is service, promotion, and maintenance of well-being. Of who? The instruction was not given to Adam to say, dominate and serve yourself. It says, what God has put around you. What God has put around you. So I think for me, that's where then I begin lifting myself up, that I was made to promote. I was made to serve. I was made to ensure the well-being of whatever is around me. And what is around me does not have to be what I not value, but what I think I have put in my interpersonal space. No, it has to be whatever is around me. So if there are women around me, they are part of it. If there are children around me, they are part of it. If there's a career around me, it's part of it. If there's a community around me, it's part of it. If there's nature around me, it's part of it. If there's a dog or a cat around me, it's part of it, because then it all encompasses the beginning of the vision of what it means to me to be a man.
Wow.
Then from there, I'm going to Jesus as that perfect man.
Can I just
come in, my pastor, come in. It's getting exciting and deep as well.
I wanted to throw a spanner in the works.
Oh Lord.
I 100% agree with Pastor Mazibuko and Pastor Zondi about examining Jesus the man. But my question and the spanner in the works is this: what has happened to that theology of Christ the man in relation to our forebears, that they've become what they became? Because we are a result of them. We have been influenced by them. What has happened to the theology of Christ the man? When our forebears are what they were, and we are what we are. Could it be that the theology of Christ as the man needs to evolve for each generation? When we are not able to relate with our society, with our children, where has the emotive man gone? Even to a man who has accepted Christ as the Lord and Savior. Bible believing, word entrenched. What has happened to the emotive man? So I fully agree, and I'm just throwing that spanner in the works. The theology of Christ as a man. I do not know. Dr. Zondi and Pastor Mazibuko are theologians who are much better than me and Unzoto. Now I'm just throwing that spanner in the works. I'm just thinking out aloud.
All right. I'm going to give you now, Pastor Melane. I just want to acknowledge the people that are making points here. I see Maleshwane Tabang. She says, wow, so profound, Pastor Khethelo. And Norma Mazibuko, welcome, ma'am. Good to see you. If she's watching. Beauty Slacha Kotela, uthi ndinewari ndisesithubeni but ndiyahlalela phansi. Okay, chawekas. Please do that. Memamiki Melane. Yabona uba amakhosikazi enu aphulaphule madoda. Uthi, this conversation is really loaded. Nothing like what seems at face value. Wow. I sense that too. It went to a deeper level because I guess that's where the root of the matter has to be. And it feels already that we've got to come back to this conversation again. And then Unaleti Molope Serut is watching. Now we crossover sessions. I think Pastor I forgot his name now.
Blose.
Pastor Blose, yes. I listened to his message yesterday. I think he was in PE. Well, last Ndaba is watching. Seth Matetuka. Uti, I support Jesus to be our example as men in Christ. McDonald Mzimkulu Pambaniso Uti and perfectly says Nangu Unomaswazi Ngai Uti, I'm worried ingati it's mostly women watching. This conversation is really loaded. Uti Leshwan is saying Uti is what you are faced with a hopeless situation. I think it's a very important question there to say, how can we turn things around? Is it a hopeless situation as we are looking at those 9 boys, young boys who were burnt to death by the community members? The situation in our community is rape, robbery, substance abuse. We need more men on the ground. Matetuka comes back with the humility is key in men finding themselves. I think he's adding another value to what Pastor Mazibuko started really building there. Jesus washing the feet of his disciples is something men must emulate. Nomaswazi, service, promotion, maintaining of everything, everyone and everything around you, rich conversation. Nangu Uchibili's Chawe and Maud Matanda is watching, Pura is watching. Oh, guys, it's just amazing. I can see Usimpiwe Mtengwana is here, and many other people are here. I just want to read here also Uti said Tadi, very thought-provoking, looking at Jesus as man. In addition to learning from Jesus, the man, maybe if we should also learn from David and Jonathan, friendship would find clues on how to relate. I see that because we are pastors, the tenor of the conversation obviously is going to be more Christian and biblical basis. But there may be also other viewers who are watching who may not subscribe to it. But the point I'm trying to make is that let's not hide who we really are as pastors, but I think we also need to say what are other ways that people can begin to deal with the sabotage that man is experiencing, because it feels as if there's a self-sabotage that we're all experiencing. Sabotage, sometimes it's self-made, sometimes it comes from what our forefathers didn't train us on. So the questions I want to find out from you is that, what are the things that sabotage us from fulfilling our purpose as men? Especially the stuff that Pastor Mazibuko is beginning to talk about: promotion, maintaining things, serving, Seth saying humility and so on. What are the things that sabotage us from fulfilling and building those capacities? Thando, are you there?
Yes, Pep.
Yes, go ahead.
I think I was going to start by touching to what you've just alluded in terms of someone might say when Pastor Zondi or Dr. Zondi is saying we must look at the man Jesus. And
sorry, Thando, your light is there's a light coming through there. I'm gonna ask this person here. I can't see who it is. Simpiwe K. Please mute your device. I've just muted you now, but please mute it so that we don't hear what you're saying. Okay, Thando, I can see you very well now. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying, as Dr. Zondi says, we must look up to Jesus, the man Jesus, and Pastor Mazibuko. Someone might think that we're now getting religious on the issue that is not religious necessarily. It affects men, but I think they are right. Let's apply logic at it. Okay. So Pastor Mazibuko is saying, if we look at the man Jesus as a perfect man, it presupposes that if you are imperfect, there must be some perfection that you must look at and emulate. Okay? So if you agree that we are in a problem as men, there must be a solution or someone who can offer a solution, and a solution that is above everyone of us. And anyone who looks then at Jesus finds that particular man. It doesn't matter which religion you are in, which culture you are in. If you study and look at the man Jesus, these are the following things, and some of them Khethelo has mentioned them. I think the key first one is that you are a man because that's intrinsic. What do we mean by that? Something which is intrinsic, it is something that you don't become. It's something that is, okay? So in other words, there is a sun, okay? We say it's sunny today, there is a sun, okay? So the sun is there, whether I know that there is a sun or not. My ignorance of the sun does not makes a sun not to be there. So in other words, I am a man by how or what God created me to be in his image. I am a man. This is something intrinsic. I don't have to work for. In other words, and I cannot lessen anything. It is intrinsic. We put a word that says
Sibanda, please mute your device, please. Hey, the guy, and I can't mute these people. Go ahead, Thando. Mr. Sibanda, and anyone else, please, who's joining, please mute your device. I see Nyalik, Nesbit, please mute your devices so that we can get to hear our speakers well. Go ahead, Thando, and finish your point. You are muted. Thando, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. I'm a man not by some superficial definitions. I'm not a man primarily because of my culture or anything. This is intrinsic. This is what I am. This is how I am created. Now, if you don't believe in God creating, you'll have to convince me, how do I become a man intrinsically, if there's something like that? So that's the first thing. So which makes then what Khethelo has just said in terms of serving and other people, Pastor said, in terms of humility, is that it must stem out of, because you can't serve if you do not know who you are. Okay.
The issue of identity comes up again.
The issue of identity. I'm not a man because I went to the circumcision school. I am a man because that's how God has created me to be. So my testosterone is not accidental. It is something that has been given to me. I did not apply for it. So it's important that when we speak about the issue of identity, we speak about that. It is not religious. It is both philosophical, sociological, and practical in each and everyday life. And now I want to come to this thing, then talk later of what Buwe has raised in terms of the four-bearer generation. Now, the reality is that every generation, any generation will pass a baton to the following generation. And it is upon that particular, Christ is the champion of every generation. Let me repeat, Christ is the champion of every generation. And no man beside him is a generation of every generation, is a champion of every generation. Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe were the champions of their generations. They are not the champions of this generation now. But Christ, we can copy from them, but they're not facing the same issues that we're facing. But Christ overrides, is a champion of every generation. Then it is incumbent upon us as the current man as to how do we look at Christ and make him a champion of this particular generation. Okay. So that's the point of relating. We start there from a point of relating that I am a man not by some superficial definition. I am a man because there's something intrinsic about my manhood.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, colleagues. I think the time is just disappearing from us. I had prepared a number of questions here, but I see that it has just taken a life of its own. There's a question here by Linda Tolakele Hossein Otiena. So if Jesus is the example for man, is that exclusive of women? In other words, are women excluded? What are the distinguishing attributes of, if any? Or are we saying he's an example of humanity? And I think that's where a question comes up in terms of this thing here, because we also have to accept that this conversation needs. I don't want us to feel like we are sort of short-circuiting it, but we need to say, guys, we have a problem, and the problem has been identified, and the problem, we all experience it. Women experience it, men experience it, children experience it, and it seems to be around us men. Since we are not able to address the problem, how do we move forward from here? Now, you are all pastors here.
Sorry.
Can I ask the people who? I don't know. There's a person here who's Hawaii. Please mute your device as a bliffman, sir. Just switch off your device so that we don't hear you. We don't mind seeing your face, but please, your device must be muted. And I'm running all over the screen here trying to mute people. All right. So where I want us to go now is
Pat,
you know,
I just wanted to say first, when we say we're looking at Jesus, we're looking at truth. Okay?
Yeah.
And truth by its definition is exclusive. Because if truth is inclusive, then there won't be lies. Okay? Yeah. So we what we're looking for as men is truth here. And that the Jesus we're speaking about is the Jesus who is truth. In other words, with him, there is no contradiction of lies.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to say that.
Okay, but you're not saying that women are excluded from him. I think that's what the point that you're making.
Women are not excluded from truth.
Yes. Okay.
They live in truth too.
Okay, and then Uputset Matetuka, Upukula, how do we remove identity of manhood from obsession with materialism on focusing rather than on relationships and serving. It's a big problem because, as I said in my question to you, what we talk about as men, I'll give you now, Pastor Zondi, what we talk about as men when we meet together, we talk about cars, we talk about the new house, we talk about the new shoes, we talk about, the latest, this phone, but, how can we move away from material things? Sipho, go ahead, sir.
I'm going to be very brave, Pat. You see, because this is a very, it's a very long, discussion.
Yeah.
You see, the object of man, when we grew up, the object of man has been material things, but that's how we're brought up. So when we're saying we should remove the object of man from material things to Christ, the perfect man, that's exactly what we're dealing with. You see, if we, let me put it this way. Paul says, I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, correct me if I'm mistaken. He says, follow me as I follow Christ. In other words, Paul is saying, I'm looking at Christ. Christ is my mentor. I'm looking at Christ. He is this perfect man that I'm following. I'm following this perfect man. Then he urges his church to follow him as he followed his perfect man. So what I'm saying is, and I think Pastor Melane answered very correctly, that one of the things we must understand, Jesus is not a Christian. So when we talk of following Christ, making Christ as our object, and making Christ, our object as man, as this perfect man, because when we do that, we'll then look at how does Jesus relate to for instance, to women? How does Christ relate to culture? How does Christ relate to community? And we'll begin then to learn certain things that we're learning from Christ as man. So what I'm saying is that it is absolutely important that we put Christ at the center of it. It doesn't matter which religion you come from.
Okay.
But Christ as our perfect man, as a man that we're looking up to, every other man in every other aspect of manhood, because Christ is a symbol, is a total symbol, a perfect symbol of manhood. So when we embrace that and begin to look into that deeply, it will deal with things like which have come up right now, issues like humility, and so on, because what we are dealing with now in a society.
You are breaking there, Pastor.
And so men are looking.
Pastor Zondi, I think you're breaking. I can't hear you very well. Okay, I think we're gonna come back to you, but I think you've made the point. I think you've made the point. I think we'll have to come back to this because there might be someone, if I can play devil's advocate, who will say, you talk about Christ, and yet we were oppressed by people who call themselves Christians following this Christ. The reason why men were emasculated and taken out from their families, all of that was done in the name of religion, of Christian religion. So, but we're not there for now. But where I want us to really now go as we approach the end of the program is to be practical, to say, guys, and I want Pastor Buwe to come back because I can't see him here, and Pastor Mazibuko. We have to say, guys, what is it practically now that we can do when we see other people, other men needing to be afflicted? How do we break out of our cocoon to be vulnerable, to be able to seek help when we don't have it? How do we deal with that uplifting of one another at a practical level now? I'm thinking of a man in the corporate world. I'm thinking of a man in an organization working here, in a community, in a church, wherever. How do we help one another? People are losing employment. People are losing incomes. People are struggling. with physical illnesses and things like that. I'm talking about men, and they feel all alone. They feel emasculated. They feel that they are not good anymore to be able to really do the contribution. So how do we uplift one another? Pastor Buwe and then Pastor Mazibuko. Let me get back to you guys so that we can answer that question in more practical terms.
Let's let Pastor Mazibuko go first. Let's let Pastor Mazibuko go first. His hand was up.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Mazibuko.
Okay. Thanks, Fundis. I just want to come first to the spanner that Pastor Buwe threw to us earlier, asking the question. So then, what went wrong with? We've got forebears. We are now talking about Jesus as what we would call the perfect man, not just man in the masculine sense, but the perfect human being. Then we look at our forebears. What happened? May I suggest, if you look at many religions, not religions, if you look at many races and cultures around the world, one of the things you will notice is that there are more women in the religions than the men, or rather in Christianity, to be more specific, there are more women than the men, even beyond the proportional representation of men to women in terms of human beings. I think we are currently sitting at 51.9% of the world is women, and men make the other roughly 49 or less percent or so. And I think that is perhaps one of the things that leads us to understanding why all along Jesus has not been picked up as an example of a perfect man. It's because he is weak, and men are creatures of strength by culture. Let's face it. We are not attracted to Jesus because he's weak. And that's not what we were taught manhood is. Any man who reads the Bible will identify with King David. We read our Bibles. It's easy for men to identify with King David, King Saul, Abraham, Goliath, because all of them in the Hebrew culture exude the kind of manhood that our cultures called us to be. Jesus is the opposite. We are taught that a man is not a man without a house. Jesus had no property. We are told that a man must have many women around him. Jesus had no girlfriend, not even one. We are taught that a man must beat up other men. Jesus allowed other men to beat him to the point of crucifixion. He does not represent the man that our cultures idealize. So throughout history, our forebears did not relate with him because he did not meet the targets that our cultures and circumstances said a man must be. But that's the irony of the Bible, that the man who is not fitting our cultural definitions, in his weakness conquers the world, conquers sin, overcomes evil. And how? In all his manhood, he did not deploy the tools of our cultural manhood. So here now we have two types of men. We've got the men that we are. And with all our tools, what have we done? Yes, we've experienced some success. Let no one underplay that. We've experienced some success. But what has that success come at the expense of? Women have had to be less for us to be more. Our children have to be more silent for our voice to be stronger. Do you understand? So the man we were made to be has become victorious at the expense of others. The man that Jesus is teaching us to be becomes victorious by lifting up others and allowing himself to be lowered if that is the cost. That's the challenge. To uplift man, we will need to recognize that man is not upliftable unless all society is uplift. Because that is what Jesus is. Jesus is the symbol of a man who puts himself under so that he may lift others up. Whereas the man we know uses others as a ladder to the top. That's just the part I wanted to speak about from Pastor Buwe's spanner.
Wow. But Mwelase, what you've said is profound, because Jesus put himself last instead of first. We are brought up to fight for ourselves to be first. Jesus put himself last. Jesus, here's a man, Jesus, in John 11, he cries. But we are taught men should not cry. So it's true what Mulas is saying, that until Christ becomes our focal point in all aspects as men, and he's our only hope. I must say that, Christ is our only hope. All other men have all other men. It doesn't matter whether it's David, whether it's Solomon, all other men have failed in one area. One man who has not failed, is the man Christ Jesus. And that is a man that we should be looking up to, all of us as men, irrespective of religion. And we are presenting a perfect man. We're presenting a perfect man, and his name is Christ. And the good thing about Christ is he transcends all cultures. He transcends all cultures. And I think Pastor Melane said it very well. He is not just the hero of one generation. He transcends all generations. Even the ones to come, he still remains the perfect man. You see? Because right now, we're not talking about Matiba. Matiba is gone. But guess what? I'm just giving an example. Christ remains this perfect man. So unless we agree, it becomes, even if it's business, even if you say, but Pastor, all about business, he remains a perfect man for a man who's a businessman. He remains a perfect man for a man who's married. Christ, he is a perfect man.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. I see here someone saying, hey, as a first step, I think it's Mabanga Sabelo. He says, as a first step, we need to integrate all men from the churches the pastors represent in a similar platform so that we can have a shared vision and goals. And I think this is a question that I had was, really, do we have platforms, gentlemen, where we can actually talk about these matters away from this? Because someone says here, Utembazana Ngalwana, thank you, Tembazana. Please ask for a space from channel 157 to influence more people. We need to be fed with this kind of food for soul. The world is in crisis. Thank you, Bodat. And when those of you who can move mountains for us to get this platform on 157, please make a miracle. Simpiwe Mtengwana saying, thank you, Katyen Ngabatata Obazise Apa. Hey, ininzi imfundiso elapa endifumanayo. Nanku Thando Mamba is watching. Okay. Umziwanele Skakwe Epai. Ukwakhanya Moti Peter is watching. Abo Akamata is watching. Stime Kwatala is watching. Toto Kola, welcome guys. Oh, my daughter. Umteteleli Mkapuzana. Oh, the powerful preacher, that one. Uti, powerful Pastor Mazibuko. People are just mesmerized by all these comments. Now, Sipho, a city materialism has killed and poisoned the way we relate with the environment around us. The minute I don't have or lose the status or material things, I, as a man, then become aggressive to regain the status I had. Utulu Babalo, we're living in a society that is transactional, such that if you don't have anything to offer, no one will help you, which totally defy the issue of giving help. Men don't want to help people who need help. They want to help those that already have. Oh, and that's when we are going to come back to continue this discussion. Pastor Vuyani Buwe, do you want to say something at this point?
Kajeni, I fully agree with the speakers before me. And I just want to say there needs to be an intentional examination of Christ, the man. There are things that we need to examine at a deeper level so that the current definition of man, even as Christian, it can exist without toxic masculinity. It means we have misdefined. It means we have missed the point in emulating Christ, in defining ourselves. It means we need to even transcend our cultural indoctrination of what manhood is. And I seem to believe that we can never experience Christ and see Christ wearing the spectacles of culture that still indoctrinate me to be who I am. And it needs that I get out of myself and yearn and investigate and look deeper into the person of Christ to be the man that would make an impact in this society, who would make an impact in other men. And I think we still have entrapments of our socializations, be it culture, be it society, whatever. And there needs to be an intentional purging or living, manhood as we know it, and seek, for Christ and seek him earnestly, so that we are able to then emulate him and do justice to the man Christ is.
Wow. People are saying Nangulungile Mbunge is coming back to say at 1:57, whilst I was listening, or I was thinking about how this content can reach as many men as possible. Which I do not want to compare with Ama Bishop, but okay, I'll come to you now. Seth Maketuka, whose true uplifting of each other as men requires humility first and foremost, then to be vulnerable to each other, praying for one another, meaningfully engaging each other on practical issues of social justice, caring and supporting the needy, and openly condemning abuse of women and children, as well as corruption. Uputset now, Upukula is really practical in terms of what it means. And pastors, I want you to get that in that direction as well, to say what does this thing look like of uplifting one another? Because the people that are corrupt, we hear them, they uplift one another, they support one another with deals of corruption and all of that. But those of us who are trying to have an ethical, moral society, how do we help one another when we are struggling, when we are losing employment? Because if you lose employment, you get kicked off quickly from the society of men with employment. So how do we deal with those kinds of things at a practical level? We're now 15:31, we're supposed to be ending now. So I don't want to keep you longer, but let's wrap it up nicely with some practical ideas. Mazibuko, you have your hand up. And Thando, I haven't heard you speak.
I had mine up.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Okay, let me get practical. A doctor friend of mine was saying to me the other time, whilst they were at medical school, they were in the hospital and the patient came in the emergency, and they were trying to. They passed examining the patients, and they wanted to cure him very quickly. And he said the patient was bleeding and was wearing a beanie. And he said they checked all what was the problem, but they could not find a problem because they went out to solve the problem. And they realized later that actually they should have spent more time examining the problem because the guy had a knock in his head and they did not take off the beanie. If they had taken off the beanie quickly, they would have found out what's the problem. So sometimes I learn from that not to jump into the solution without examining the problem. But here's something that is practical, that is how Buwe started. That's going to help all of us as men. And these are principles that I want to share in relate. How do you relate with another man first? I'm doing that. There's 4 ways of relating. There's first the casual way of relating. How are you? Kaizer Chiefs was playing and they were whatever score, Mamelodi Sundowns and everything like that. That's casual. The second one is business. There's a tender. We must push this business. I don't have a job. That's business. And the third one will be problem. I have a problem with my wife. I have a problem. And most of the times as men, we relate in these 3 levels. We relate on a casual basis, on a casual basis, on a business basis, on a problem basis. So we might be men, and you'll notice that all of these things, of these 3 things, are reactive in nature. You know, you have a problem, there's business, you are reacting. But there's a 4th way, which is proactive, that we need to apply. You can apply it from out of this meeting, that when you talk with another man and begin to zoom in, is called life-giving conversations. So life-giving conversations are proactive. I don't wait for Buwe to come to me or Khethelo. I'm able to phone Khethelo and say to him, how are you? I'm not asking what is the weather today. I'm asking how are you? And life-giving conversations about affirmation. Am I able to talk with Buwe and say, Buwe, you good. I see that you are doing something with boys in terms of taking them out of drugs and everything like that. That if we spend more time affirming each other, that we will be able to ask difficult questions from other men, because you are assured that this man admires you. Take time to admire another man. Take time to ask, how are you? And thirdly, be there in terms of help. Offer yourself for help. And those are life-giving conversations. So, gentlemen, let's move away from the first 3. We've done it enough. Let's have life-giving conversations. Let's affirmation, ask, say, I'm available. Okay, go an extra mile in terms of support. Thank you, Pat.
Wow, thank you so much. All right, who else wants to go? Pastor Mazibuko.
Can I just, thank you, Pat, for that one. I'm very much touched by what Umfunsu Melane has just said. Because now we are trying to get into that space of being practical. Maybe let me share with you, adding on to what Pastor Melane has said in the beginning of his comment, that has put us in this position as pastors. If you've noticed, you kept repeating the whole issue of being practical, and we kept coming back, Tina, to the man, Jesus.
Yes.
There's a reason for that, and I think it cuts across the 4 of us. We work with communities, and we have seen the danger of how a solution that is given on an unfertile ground runs away when the rain starts. We don't want to be pushed to throw in a seed and plant a tree on soil that is faulty. That's why we keep doing this. People will keep saying, pastors, be practical. We are not. How can we be practical on rocky soil? Whatever solutions we give and we try and share, the first rain of trouble in manhood, that seed will be washed away. And then we will always hold conversations where we are asked, be practical, be practical. No, let's work the soil.
Okay.
Let's work the soil.
I hear you.
So that the seed we plant, we can all be confident that it is going to grow. Maybe I just wanted to explain that part first, why it seems like we are dodging you on the practical.
No.
We are not dodging you.
I'm doing my job. That's all I'm doing. Okay.
Then the second part.
That's a caveat there. Yeah.
The second part connects to what Pastor Melane said, and I would want to bring it for me in those three principles. One, borrowing from Genesis, is the issue of promoting, which have been mind blown because Pastor Melane has put it in another powerful way: affirmation, promoting other men with that affirmation, conversations that give life. The second part of it, and I'm going to say this with sadness. Over the years, I have realized that as a pastor, when I rebuke us men, I would then be excluded from certain WhatsApp men group, which discuss a lot of nonsense, because men don't want to be held accountable. And as men, we are very good at isolating men who will bring us to sense. So when we realize this guy is faithful to his wife, this guy does not entertain nonsense, we open a WhatsApp group where he is not, so that we can entertain each other with videos of women and all sorts of things. If we really want to promote men, we need to speak about learning to infuse a culture of accountability among men. Men sulk, men are weak, men don't want to be rebuked. Men throw a tantrum, not on their wives, even among ourselves as men. Try calling your brother to order, he throws a tantrum. And the next thing you know, other men also are sort of jittery around you. It is the protection of evil that we need to call out among men and say, no, that doesn't mean don't be comfortable with me, but it means call me when you know you really want to hear life-saving words. So that when you call me and you say, if I call you Put and I say, look, can we talk? And you say yes. And I said, look, there's this lady, man, that I've met. She's been asking me for prayers as her pastor. Now, yeah, no, I'm just being honest. I think I want more than just praying for her. I'm not telling you that so that we laugh and you say, Mchana, man, where did you see her? A part of me must be seeking the truth. A part of me must be calling you because I want you to say to me, Mfundis, let me talk to you as a father, as a wife, as a husband, and as a pastor. Let me tell you what God has put in your life that is about to be undermined and be destroyed if you follow this kind of a thought. So for me, I'm worried that we are being asked to how can men lift each other up, yet the reality is some of the people we want to lift up don't want to be rebuked, don't want to be called to order. By lifting up, as Pastor Melane said, they mean give me a tender, give me a job. That's what they mean. Most men, when they say, yeah, we must support each other, they mean give me a tender, you have got access to work. Pastor Buwe, you work for the city, you are in procurement, give me a tender. They don't mean give me life in my situations. All right? Then the last one I'll mention is the issue of service. This one speaks particularly to men who have lost their jobs, men who are dealing with sexual challenges within the marriages. One of the things we need to help each other as men is to remember, when you are a breadwinner, we need to change that statement. You are not a breadwinner. You are a bread servant. God has called you to serve this family through bread. Now, when I lose my job, I need to shift my service. The office has changed, not my service. So when I, as a man, am now at home and I am cooking and I am cleaning, my wife is going to work. She now has taken the service of bread servant. I have taken the service of home maintenance. These victorious terms, breadwinner, are the ones that I'm looking at you, men are the ones that block men from ministering, and instead we become starrings, not ministers. I ministered through my job. My job is finished. Let me minister through another service.
Wow, wow, wow. Powerful words there, Mazibuko. Pastor Buwe, you want to say something? Or am I missing? You want to say something, Pastor Buwe? And I'm missing Zondi. I don't know.
I'm here.
Yes,
I'm
go
here.
ahead, sir.
I'm
Yes.
here. It's just I'm driving to another appointment. But let me say a couple of points. Thank you so much, Pastor Melane and Pastor Mazibuko. Let me be practical. You know, one of the things I learned, I did not know this. Lifesavers at sea is that they don't save you until you raise your hand. If you are in the sea, they will let you think until you raise your hand. So when you've raised your hand, they come and say, the first thing that we need to do as men is to raise our hand. We need help. Men must learn to raise their hands. I've discovered this, you know, as a pastor, I've found myself counseling. You know, there are people, men, I've wasted my time. I'm being honest with you. I've wasted my time. I sit the whole night. This man just does not want help. He wants arguments. He wants arguments. You call him to mentoring, in fact, to a counseling. He end up counseling you. He's the one doing the talking. He talks the argument. So the first thing we must do, raise our hands that we need help. That's number one, that I need help. Number two, we need to admit that some of the methods, the old methods, the methods how we grew up, some of them are not right. We need to admit that. We need to admit that it's a painful thing, but we need to admit that some of the things that were taught are not right. You know, we can't beat about the bush about that. We need to say this is not right. You know, this, you know, for instance, having many girlfriends is not right. We need to admit it's not right for many reasons. It's not. You can't say you're a man because you have 5 girlfriends. That is not right. So we need to admit some of these things. You know, being honest with them and take you know, and take you know, accountability on them. That's the third thing. We need to be intentional. We need to be intentional. What do I mean by intentional? Every man finds a mentor. Every man finds a mentor. One of my friends said something to me, something powerful. We were talking about another friend. We all pastoring churches. We were talking about another friend. He says to me, our friend has changed friends. You know what he said to me? He said to me, Zondi, once you see a man changes a friend, that man is up to no good. Just all of a sudden changes. But here's the thing, which I want to say, is that every man must be intentional in finding a man who can mentor him, a man who can speak to him. Every man must find a man that he can account. Find a man who can account to. Those men are there in churches. Let us stop as men to be know-it-all. We don't know it all. I need men in my life. I need pastors in my life. I don't know it all. Every man find a man who can speak to him. And then and then lastly, every man find a man to mentor. So you find a mentor, but you find a mentee. Every man find another man to mentor. Then the last one, let us have this conversation. You know, Pet, I'm just praying that this is not the last time of conversation. You see, one of the things about us as Africans, we have these conversations and no follow-ups, and we don't build on them. And here's the thing, and I think we need to have this conversation, because what Melane was talking about, life-giving conversation, this is a life-giving conversation. I've learned so much out of it. And I think we need to have this life-giving conversation, not only on Zoom. Take them to school. Talk to the principals. Let's talk to the principals and have meetings with boys and have sessions with boys. And those principals who are part of this session Zoom, let them organize meeting with boys and call us. And we talk to these young men and talk to them. And I think we need that, and even in churches. And I like this because, you know, this forum has broken the denominational barriers. We need to do that. We really need to do that, you know. I'm just blessed by Mazibuko. You know, we need to do that, you know, and remove these blinkers and really embrace each other and walk together. And I think if we do that, we will really change the status quo. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor Zondi, for that. I think you've hit a nail on the head. I think Sipho Mabanga said the same thing as well, that we need to really come together. I'm going to wrap up now, but I don't want to read what Sabelo is saying, Sabelo Mali. He says, good start, pastors. Maybe this should be our first episode. I think the subject is very broad and highly empowering. Thank you so much. Good tool there, Thando, Mazibuko, Thando, Melane, life-giving conversations. I think it's a very, very, really good tool there, practical as well. Tembazana Ngaloana saying, very true, you can't plant on a clay soil. Wow. And Mamiki Melane, bread servant. It's a new term today. I've learned a lot about all of this. New term. No longer breadwinners, bread servants. Wow. And the idea of shifting the service, but you still are a servant. Wow, that was beautiful. Masabata Makato, welcome. Lutando Matanga, welcome. And it says, Pastor Zondi, amen. Guys, we are now fast approaching our time, but I don't want to lose my audience here. Ubusani Sbanda says, I see that this session is being recorded. How can we get hold of the recorded copy? Busani, I'm gonna have it. You can approach me. The second way, it's also recorded on Facebook as we speak now. So a person can go back to it over and over again. You can forward it to your friends. You can forward it to family so that those who cannot make it today can actually be able to read it. I just want to see, and then Unyalish Nespik said, okay, he's also asking, he or she is asking also a request of an audio of video of this recording. Upila is okay. They're asking if it's going to be available on podcast and YouTube and Facebook. Yes, Facebook, it's there. I will send you my link on Facebook, and you can send me your WhatsApp number, and I'll try and link you to that. And I see Pilatao say here, he was, I don't know if he wrote a message. Yes, but colleagues, let's wrap up now. I know that you're theologians, you have to deal with the soil first and all of that, but I think it helped that we also started to say now, people that are here may want to implement something, may want to do something. We've heard here about life-giving conversations. We've heard here about affirmation, accountability, about mentoring and mentees. We've heard here about people raising their hands to ask for help. Anything else you want to share as we wrap up our conversation? Is on?
Yes, I was just going to say, as adult men, if your circles are not improving the quality of your life, then you are in the wrong circles as a man.
Sure.
If your circles are the source if your circles push you to be the worst that you've ever been, men must just evaluate their circles. There was an advert on TV. It's an insurance advert. They show a woman with a brain and the network of things happening in that woman's brain. And they show a man. And as they show the brain of a man, they show a huge box with nothingness. Yeah. Men can meet for nothing, vanity of vanities, day in, day out. You are meeting these people. They have absolutely no impact. I'm not talking about church here. I'm talking about morals. I'm talking about business. I'm talking about you as a person. But you keep on waking up every weekend, dressing expensive, pouring petrol, spending money in the presence of people who will not push you to meet the appointment that you have with the future. I think, Jay, as a man, let's remove the cloak of religion and just say, let us evaluate. Are you becoming better based on the circles that you are in? Are you growing based on the circles you are in? The people who move Anabo, where are they going? What are their dreams? What are their ambitions? Where are they going? And if we could just do that one examination about our lives and how we relate and the circles we are in, because some men have died based on the circles they are in. And they are slowly dying. And men can die smiling, spending money, dressing expensive.
Yo. Wow.
So for me, this is a conversation for each man to evaluate every avenue of his life, his marital life, how he relates with children. Amen. I find men who are preachers, and you ask him, which subjects are your children doing in school? Agazaz. I was ashamed. I usually take my son to all his soccer matches, my youngest. I only discovered last week that he's stronger with his left foot. And the boy is 14. I only discovered last week that the boy, and I've been pushing him to be made a right wing, and the boy is stronger as a left wing. We can exist in situations that need us to react. Men have a tendency of just zoning out where we are absent in our presence. You are at home, you do not know what is happening, you do not know the emotional well-being of your wife, you do not know the emotional well-being of your children. You are here, you are paying the bills, you are paying the bond, but you are absent emotionally.
Sure.
Let me add this, Prophet. Let me add this before I zoom out. Really, there are men out there who are hurting. There are men out there who are hurting because of background, some hurting because of whatever situation. Platforms like this must be hidden platforms. I think we also do need another leg where men are able to get healed and get healing. But I'm saying even those men who are hurt, let them raise hands before they hurt someone else, because hurting people hurt others. People when they're hurting, they hurt others. I've come across hurting men that are hurting for one reason or the other. I'm saying those men who are hurting because the cycle of hurting will not stop until they can help. Let this platform as well be able to minister to them so that they get healing.
Thank you so much, Pastor Zondi, for that. And thank you, gentlemen. It really is a life-giving conversation that we started today. And I sense, and people are even saying so, that it's a sore point. It's something that is really at the core of many people's issues, this issue of men uplifting one another, but the woundedness that we feel and the problems that we cause to other people. But I'm glad that you've also, not only did you identify the problems, but you've also given us hope on things that we can do going forward. To say that, I think in your words, you painted the picture of a perfect man, a perfect example that we all need to aspire to and emulate, which is Jesus. Then from there, you said, now that we've created a perfect soil, a soil that people can grow, now let's plant the seeds of accountability, of teachability, of intentionality, plant the seeds, of mentoring, plant the seed of looking at the circles of our friends. Who is going with us? Are they adding value? Are they taking us to our destination? You've talked about life-giving conversations that we can now take home. So the point I'm trying to end it here, we are going to again come back to this conversation so that we can now take forward the other aspects of it, because we haven't gone to all the aspects of the conversation, but at least it's a beginning, as this other person was saying here. As Usabelo Mali saying, this is a good start. Thank you so much for that. And Anele Jafta has also written, give us a note to say, thank you, Patrick Kulati and your panelists. Learned a lot from pastors Nomaswaz Ngai, which is so proud, so profound, Vuyani Buwe. People are just mesmerized and motivated and encouraged, as I am, about this conversation. Guys, I'm gonna give you 60 seconds each just to wrap up and tell us about how people can link up with you if they want to, and maybe the last closing commentary from you, and then we can wrap up before 4 o'clock. Thando?
Anyone who wants me, Thando Melane, on Facebook, or ask Patrick Kulati about me, or Vuyani Buwe, or Khethelo, Mazibuko, or Sipho Zondi about me, you can find me.
All right. Yes, go ahead, Mazibuko.
Okay, thank you so much, Put for inviting us into this conversation. I do think we came in it aware that we could never exhaust such a topic. For that reason, here's what I'm going to say to all of us as men. Being a man is not a static destination. It's a life journey. So no man should feel hopeless. No man should feel I've gone too far. For as long as we are breathing, we are within room to improve what it means to be a man. And for reach out on Facebook, you can find me on Pastor Khethelo Mazibuko, The Word and Life Ministry. You can find me there. In it, you will also find the cell phone number that you can use to reach out so that we can talk. And of course, with Pat, you have the contact details if anyone wants to talk to you privately. Thank you so much for the invitation. Honored to have been part of this esteemed panel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Pastor Vuyani Buwe.
Tata, in my parting shot is, no one should, by any stretch of imagination, should they assume that because we are sitting on this side of the table, we are at the epitome of perfection when it comes to manhood. We are just in a journey of discovery. As much as you think that we are helping you, the comments that are coming in are helping us, because the greatest problem of manhood is thinking that we have arrived. And once you have arrived, you die slowly because you don't evolve, you don't grow, you don't get exposed to new information. I am available on Facebook. It's Vuyani Buwe. I also have a YouTube channel where I post a lot of motivational talks and a few clips. It's Vuyani B. I'm sure if anybody is looking for me, then they can also touch you. And they can touch me through the social media platforms. Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues as well for a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sure other people can make a mistake and think you're Buwe. You are Buwe. At the end, there's an E. Thank you, Pastor Zondi. Your last parting shots.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for the invitation, man. My apologies that I had to start driving earlier on. But thank you so much for the invitation. Gentlemen, there is hope. Every man out there is hope. I want to say to you, gentlemen, please raise your hand before it's too late. There's just too many men who are killing each other. There are too many men who are committing suicide. Just raise your hand. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until it's too late. Raise a hand. There is help out there. There is help out there. And that's why I am Langa Baptist Church. We meet as men once a month. If you wanna follow us, just make sure that you follow our page, our Facebook page. You will know and hear when we're meeting. But I wanna say to every man out there, there is hope. Please, gentlemen, don't wait until it's too late. There is hope. There is help out there. There are people who can help us. There are people who are willing to help. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, sir. What a way to end. There's help and there's hope. So no one must give up hope. Those people who are feeling like they are always being pushed down, they're not recognized, they are not worthy, they do not feel good, there is hope. There is a sense that we can help one another. Colleagues, thank you so much for your time again. And may you please enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Sorry, Pastor Buwe, oba ilanchi yako ngekayiki ngelixesha. I'm just hoping something to eat whilst you were talking here. But really, really appreciate all of you gentlemen and all our viewers at home. Those of you who want to watch this again, go back to my Facebook page, Patrick Kulati. That's the Facebook page. You can watch it there again. But I've put down here my email address, which is patrickkulati@gmail.com. You can reach out to me there as well. We are dealing with these topics that are supposed to take us from one level to the next level. That's what we're here to do, to make sure that people are growing, people are becoming better, people are fulfilling the purpose for which they're here. That is what this platform is about. This platform is called Moments of Insight and Growth. That's what we are called. We're going to brand it as such. This is a moment of insight and growth so that everybody who comes across us gets an insight and begin the process of growing. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Gentlemen, I will be in touch with you. Thank you so much for your time. Really, siyabulela. Inkosi zami. Ngayitye lunch yakho mhlobo.
Thanks, Kaje. Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers as well. And sorry we didn't allow you for questions. The time just ran away from us. But thanks for those of you who wrote in. And thank you. I can see Sbu, you are here. Mawonga, I can see you. Busani, Sibanda, Votloza, Lubabalo, Mtakane, Matakane, good to see you. Who else is here? Mnitis, Kelem, Mawonga, Papile, Pelesi, Nelson, see you. Petukolo, Sibokwe, Skara, Ramalefo, thank you, Sipho, see you. I see you saying it's been a powerful and equipping, I think Sipho Khawula who says that. Lubabalo Matakane, thank you for a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Saida Khawula, I see you. Soldier Kolweni, I see you. Theo Lula, thank you. And others I may not be able to read. Thank you so much, colleagues. All the best. We're going to see you next time. All the best. And God bless. I see also Ujune Krongwani. Welcome, Sisi. Good to see you.